Okay, boys. So we're going to look at 2.3 day 3 together. And first question, by the way, the learning goal is the same as last day. We're on the third lesson, so the learning goal hasn't changed. We want to sketch this line that is y equal negative 2x minus 8. So I'm going to start at my y-intercept, which is -8, which I'm going to ballpark to be down there. And then my slope is -2, which means go down to right 1, right? For slope, rise over run, but I don't want to go down 2 and right 1 because then my line is going to be going down here. And so when we have -2 over 1, we can give the negative to the denominator, don't forget. So if I give the negative to the denominator, that means I can go up 2 and left 1. So something like that maybe is my trajectory. So I'm just, again, this is a sketch. So I'm just going to do something like that. That's a ballpark sketch. That's good enough for this. And once we sketched it, then it says determine the point on the line that is the shortest distance away from H76. I'm going to ballpark 76 to be something like here. Again, that's just a ballpark. I'll label it. And the shortest distance from a point to a line is always a perpendicular line or a 90-degree angle. Okay. If you can think about that, if I were to draw the line from here to here, that's obviously longer. That would be more like a hypotenuse. So 90-degree angle, why is that important? Because we have to remember that we have, when it's a 90-degree angle, we have perpendicular slopes. That information is going to help us determine some other things as we go forward here. So let's take a look at the next question. We just sketched this, done. A says label the point M, X, Y as the point which provides the shortest distance between H and the line. What it's really saying is identify that point right there. So I'm going to label that. I'll put a dot there. I'm going to label it M. M is not the most convenient, but it is what it is. XY. Why are we calling it XY? Because we don't know what that coordinate is just yet. So we labeled it. B says, find the equation of the line through HM. So what it's really asking us is to please find the equation of that red line. All right, that's something we could do. Well, we know, first of all, that the slope of the blue line is -2. So the perpendicular slope, there's a symbol for perpendicular, is the negative reciprocal, which means flip and change the sign. So my perpendicular slope is 1/2. That's important information. So I'm putting a box around it. All right. So now we're going to use that. Y equal 1/2 X plus B. The only coordinate I know in trying to find this equation, the only coordinate I know that is on the red line is H76. Remember, there is an infinite number of lines that have the same slope as that. Okay, but there's only one line that also passes through H76, and that's the coordinate we're concerned about. So we're going to write sub in H76. Yes, I want that in your communication for homework, on a test, etc. It's important. We want to communicate what's happening. So I'll put the 6 in brackets because we learned in grade 9, when you sub a value in for a variable, you sub it in with brackets. Then I'm going to multiply 7 times 1/2, which is just 7/2 plus B. This part of the lesson, and it's going to come up again, understanding how to switch teams, change jerseys, and how to come up with common denominators. That's really elementary school. Okay, so keep an eye on that. You might want to do this in more than one step, but I know I'm going to be doing 6 minus 7/2. And then I'm going to come up with my final answer. I know that 6 has an invisible denominator of 1. I'm going to have to double it because the lowest common multiple is going to be 2. So if I double the invisible 1, then I have to double the 6, which is 12. 12 minus 7 is 5. So my answer is 5/2. That's important. So I'm putting a box. So basically I have Y equal 1/2 X plus 5/2. That's the equation of the line through HM. All right. Find the coordinates of point M. Finding the coordinates of point M is different, right? So we basically found, we have the equation of the blue line given to us in the question. We found the equation of the red line. And now basically we have to find the POI between those two. So let me just write them down again. Y equal -2x minus 8. And equation 2, keep it in blue, that's fine, is Y equal 1/2 X plus 5/2. All right, so now at this stage, there are multiple, you could branch off in multiple ways. One thing you could do is just take this, that's the value of Y, and sub it in for that guy's Y. which is really the same thing as taking this and substituting in for that guy's y, that equation's y. It wouldn't make a difference. And then make those two equal and solve for x, then solve for y, or solve for y, then solve for x. Great, go for it. Just remember, another strategy you could do is elimination. And one thing you can do with elimination is right now draw a line and subtract, because y minus y will equal 0. But then keep in mind, you're going to deal with a negative 2x minus a half. That might be a little bit difficult. Some people don't like dealing with fractions like that. And then you're going to do negative 8 minus 5 over 2, which also might be a little bit confusing or a little bit more work, more tedious than you want it to be. Doesn't matter. You could do that. I like to do things differently, and you don't have to follow my method. Choose your own. Maybe you want to pause the video and see if we get the same answer. I'm going to multiply this second equation by 4. If I multiply the second equation by 2, I'll get rid of everything in terms of denominators, right? But then I'm going to have a 2y equal 1x plus 5. And that still doesn't let me eliminate. But by multiplying by 4, then I'll write the first equation down. I'll get y equal negative 2x minus 8. That hasn't changed. But my new equation 2 is going to be 4y equal 2x plus 10. And now my x's are the same. And I can do this, and now I can add, because the negative 2x and the positive 2x will cancel each other out. Again, you choose your method, but this is the one I chose. 4y plus y is 5y, and negative 8 plus 10 is 2. So y is going to equal 2/5. So far, it doesn't seem so bad, but now when we solve for x, it ain't going to be pretty. So take a look at this. Y equal negative, I should do a little subtitle here. Solve for x. Y equal negative 2x minus 8. And I'm going to sub in 2/5 for y. Okay. And then I've got 2/5 plus 8 equal negative 2x. Just change jerseys with the negative 8. And if I want to add 2/5 plus 8, the 8 has an invisible denominator of 1. I have to make it a 5. So multiply the 8 times 5, which would be 40. 2 plus 40 is 42. So I've got 42 over 5 equal negative 2x. Again, what I just did in my head there is elementary school math. You could do it in multiple steps if you need to, but we're in grade 10 now, so we got to be able to be a bit more proficient with that. At this stage, I like to cross multiply or multiply both sides by 5, whatever makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside, whatever you like better. So negative 2x times 5 is negative 10x, and 42 times the invisible one is 42. If I divide both sides by negative 10, I'm going to end up with 21 over 5 because it gets reduced. Okay, so I found my x value is negative 21 over 5. And so we have our coordinate, our POI, or is really point M, and the coordinate is negative 21/5, 2/5. Not so pretty in terms of the fractions and the work we have to do there, but here's where it gets a little more difficult. You might run out of room on your sheet, but I can cheat a little bit because I've got the video here. I'm actually going to take this onto the next page. So what I'm trying to do here is find the exact length of HM. Ignore all these things I'm doing here. Okay, if I want to find the exact length of HM, I'm just going to copy my POI for a second because it's nice to have that coordinate with me. So I'm going to copy and paste it here. And now I'm going to start off with a distance formula. The distance or length of HM is going to equal x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared, because it wants us to find the shortest distance. If it wants the shortest distance, we're going to have to use a distance formula. All right. And remember, we had h was 7.6. So we're finding the distance between h and m. Okay. All right. Equals x2 minus x1 would be like negative 21 over 5 minus 7 squared plus y2 minus y1 would be 2 over 5 minus 6 squared. Again, we're going to do some of that a little bit of mental math happening in here. Negative 21 over 5 minus 7. 7 has an invisible denominator 1. So it has to multiply by 5. So it's negative 21 minus 35. That's 56. Negative 56 over 5 squared plus the 6 has an invisible denominator 1, become times 5. 6 times 5 is 30. So 2 minus 30 is negative 28 over 5 squared, right? Equal negative 56 squared. I'm going to cheat here because I already used my calculator. Negative 56 squared ends up being 3136 over 25 plus 784 over 25. Combine those together and we get 3,920 over 25. Now, forget about the square root symbol for a second. We can reduce our fraction. If I reduce my fraction by dividing both numbers by 5, one ends in a 0, one ends in a 5. So I know they're both divisible by 5. I end up getting 784 divided by 5 if I reduce the fraction. I would probably take this answer at this stage of your math career. I'll take this answer for now, but I want to show you the level 4 plus answer. A square root of 784 over 5 is the same thing as saying the square root of 784 divided by the square root of 5. And if you remember right here in the question, when we squared negative 28, it became a 784. So I already know that 784 is square rootable. It's a perfect square. 784 square rooted is 28. So my final answer is 28 over root 5. That would be the most simplifying the radical. All right, that's the lesson for today, boys. We'll see you in class. God bless.